Hey, this is Miss Sebastian. We're going to look at comparing rational numbers. So, it says drag negative 4 1/4 and negative 4 3/4 to the correct locations on the number line. Well, we don't have the ability to drag on a PowerPoint, so I'm just going to draw an arrow. So here's negative 4 and here's negative 5. Negative 4 1/2 is halfway between. So negative 4 1/2 will go there. Then negative 4 3/4 is almost a 5. It's going to be right there. So negative 4 1/2 is greater than negative 4 3/4 because it's farther to the right. Okay, it's farther to the right. It's closer to 0, so therefore it's greater. Okay, let's look at this one. Negative 1 1/2 and negative 1 1/4. Well, here's negative 1. Here's negative 2. So I've got negative 1 1/4 is here. And then negative 1 1/2 is here. Okay, so since negative 1 1/2 is to the left, it's farther to the left. This one, negative 1 1/4, is greater. Okay, so negative 1 1/2 is less than negative 1 1/4. Okay, complete the comparison statement. So in the last two slides, we've seen that the bigger the number, if they're both negative, the bigger the number, the less it is. So negative 9 1/2 would be closer to 0 than negative 9 7/8. So negative 9 1/2 will be greater than negative 9 7/8. Okay, drag the rational numbers in order from least to greatest. So remember, when you're looking at negative numbers, it's pretty much flip-flop from what you're used to seeing with positive numbers. So the biggest number here would be would be 5 1/2, but because it's negative, that makes it the least. So that one goes first. Then the next one is negative 5 2/10. And that one's gone. Then we're still going least to greatest. So the next one is negative 4 7/10. And the last one is negative 4 5/10. And that is least to greatest. Okay, the bank compared 3 customers' balances. Their balances are shown below. Okay, we need to know in what order from least to greatest. So I'm looking, they're all negative. So I'm looking for the biggest negative number, which is 2.65. Okay, so that one's going to be the least. That's C. Then B is negative 2 25/100. That's B. And then A is negative 1.65. Okay, number 6. During a science experiment, the velocity of ball A was negative 12 3/8 miles per hour, and the velocity of ball B was negative 12 5/8 miles per hour. Compare the rational numbers and complete the comparison statement. Okay, so I'm looking and the whole numbers are the same, so all I'm comparing is 3/8 to 5/8. Well, 5/8 is bigger, but when you add that negative, that means that it's the opposite. So negative 12 3/8 is greater than negative 12 5/8 because it's closer to 0. Okay, a meteorologist recorded the low temperatures over the course of 3 days. Okay, we want to order these from least to greatest. So I'm looking at my numbers. I've got negative 14 and 2 tenths, negative 11 and 8 tenths, and negative 15 and 1 tenth. So negative 15 and 1 tenth go first. That's Wednesday. Then negative 14 and 2 tenths. It's Monday. And negative 11 and 8 tenths. That's Tuesday. The weather report stated the low temperature was negative 2 and 7/8 degrees on Monday and negative 3 and 7/8 on Tuesday. Compare the rational numbers and complete the comparison statement. So the bigger of these two numbers, I always say bigger, as in just look at the numbers, and if they were positive, which one would be greater? You'd say right off the bat that this one would be greater. But that means it's also farther away from zero on the negative side. So negative 3 and 7/8 is going to be less than negative 2 and 7/8. You can also think of it as right here, you owe me $2 or you owe me $3. Which one's better for you? The owing me only $2 instead of $3. That's why that one's greater. Okay, number 9. Two divers are underwater. Diver A is located 225.5 meters below sea level, and diver B is located 227.5 or 5 tenths below sea level. Which statement best explains the location of the divers in reference to sea level? So which one of these is closer to sea level? 225 or 227? Well, I would say 225 is closer to sea level. So if I look down here, I would look for diver A is closer to sea level. Okay, number 10. On Monday, it was negative 5 degrees Fahrenheit. On Tuesday, it was negative 6 degrees Fahrenheit. It was colder or warmer on Monday than Tuesday. So let's see. Negative 5 is greater than negative 6. So it was warmer, okay, because negative 5 is greater than negative 6. Okay, runner A ran the race in 12.62 seconds. Runner B ran the race in 12.82 seconds. What does it mean for runner A's time to be less than runner B's time? Think about runners, okay? If I run something in 5 minutes and somebody else runs it in 6 minutes, who's faster? Well, I would be, okay? So 12.62 is faster than 12.82. So runner A ran faster.